So what's up? How you doing today? We're going to take a look at triads today in episode 5. This is the first in a 3-part mini playlist introduction to chords, and I'm hoping that by the end of this short video, you'll have a good understanding of what triads are and how they relate to chords. So let's get right into it. So what is a triad? But if you think about the word here, triad, so tri meaning 3, it's a 3-note chord. It's just like a triangle, or my favorite, or one of my favorite dinosaurs as a kid, a triceratops. So tri meaning 3, we've got 3 notes. So we have, if we're doing C, E, and G sharp, right? We're going to start with this weird triad here. This is called an augmented triad. We have 4 types of triads. And the way that a triad is created is by stacking 2 thirds together. And that's something from the last 2 episodes here of intervals. We're talking about here thirds, so a major third or a minor third. So we're going to go a major third up, and then a major third up from this note. So you can see major third from C to E, and then from E to G sharp. Although my program, I hate how this does it. It just kind of, I don't know how it almost does it at random. It calls it an A flat, but we're going to call it a G sharp. And I'll explain a little more in a bit why we would call that a G sharp over an A flat, even though they're the same notes. In the long run, it doesn't really matter that much though. So you stack those 2 together, and that gives you a triad. And what a triad is in the big picture is, okay, that's a C. We'll say we'll do C major for a second. C major triad is the same thing as a C major chord. It's just a specific way of calling it. Like underneath a C major chord, when you strum a C, open C on a guitar, there is a triad at the bottom of that, C, E, and G. And then, or said better down here, you can see that would be it. And then you'd have C and E, so you can see in that diagram there, we're just playing 2 C's, 2 E's, and 1 G, and those 5 notes give you the C chord, but it's really just the 3 different notes. That C, E, and G are the only 3 different notes in there. And I'm always fascinated that, if you were going to go, say, see a symphony, and there was 100, 100 people in this orchestra, and if you could, they're not actually playing chords. If say it was a string thing, they're playing all these melodies, they weave together, and if you pause at any one moment, the music you could see stacked up. It's going to be creating a chord, though, even if nobody's actually strumming or playing a chord on piano. And there's usually going to be just 3 different notes in there, especially for more older classical music. Sometimes 4 notes, but they're not going to be crazy kind of chords you may hear in jazz music. So it's really interesting that you could hear 100 different notes, 100 notes, but only 3 different notes, but there'll be different octaves. So the basses could be playing a low C, and then maybe the flutes are playing a C as well, but it's way, way up higher. So all these different things, but it's 3 different notes. It's just a triad. So, oops, that's not it. Now my real keyboard skills are coming out. People know the gig is up. So if we do go back to that stacking major third, that gives us an augmented chord. So you can see right there, AUG, just short for augmented, and also if you see a chart, a lot of times it's just a plus, so C plus, and that means that the 5th is raised. So we're stacking up a third and then another third, but what we call them for chord tones is a root, a third, and this would be the 5th, and specifically an augmented 5th. If we go back to the video again about intervals, here's our 5th. It's called the perfect 5th, and this is called an augmented 5th. So that gives us an augmented chord, and that's actually the least common out of the 4, but I started with that one because I wanted to show you how you're stacking just 2 major thirds on top of each other, gives you that chord. The next one, the most common chord by far, would be just a regular major chord, and that actually isn't 2 major major thirds. It's a major third and then a minor third, and it just ends up forming that major chord. So you have a root, a 1, a third, and a 5th. And now we have the minor triad. So C, E flat, and G. So that would be a minor third and then a major third. And the reason it says also, if you see here, E flat, major third, it's just thinking because here is E flat and I'm going up a major third. So it's talking about that interval. When I put it all together, this program is smart enough to know that that is a C minor chord. but it doesn't always label the notes on the above the piano or on the guitar fretboard exactly how I kind of, want it to be. And to go back to that, explain why here I would want this to be a G sharp, not an A flat, is because if you're going up a fifth from C, we want this to be thought of as a fifth because it's an augmented fifth. If you go up the alphabet here, right, starting with C, because we're starting with, think of that as the 1, C, the root, 1, C, D, E, F, G, the fifth. So if you're calling A, that's the 6th letter. So that's, think of it as a flat 6. We want to be thinking about it as a sharp 5, an augmented, meaning the same thing there, sharp 5. So that's why I would call it a G sharp, but here it's taking it, there's no context in this program what I'm using right now. So also, just say this stuff also is the same no matter what chord you're playing. So say we're doing it on C major, you want to do it for D major. Well, you just start D, you go up a major third from there, and up a minor third from that note. You put those together, up a major third, up a minor third, and that gives you a major chord starting on D. So it's all the same. It's all relative. It's all about the distance between these notes and the sounds that they ultimately give you. So there's our minor one. So the big key characteristic is that starting off, you get that major note for the major chord, and then there, the minor one. It really gives you that different sound, And then the last one, the fourth one, a diminished chord. So that's going up a minor third, up another minor third, and that is DIM, short for diminished. Also the little degree symbol for, like, say 98 degrees is the symbol for diminished chord. And the uses and all that, the context, that's a whole nother topic. That's another set of videos I'm going to make all about playing inside of a key. But for now, just know that those 4 types, we have major, minor, diminished, and augmented, and those are the kind of popularity, or you say common uses in that particular order. Of course, the major and minor by far the most common. So what you should do is really, mess around with that stuff on guitar or whatever instrument you play, and get familiar and start to notice that the bigger chords, if it's, say, a C chord or an E minor, that are triads made up there. So even if you strum a big E minor chord on your guitar, you get 6 strings there, say an open one, there's only 3 notes in there. So use this as an example to kind of get to know the fretboard a little better too, to name the notes, the note names, and also how they relate as chord tones as well. And notice the sounds between these chords, that the sound of a major chord versus a minor chord versus a diminished chord versus that augmented chord, and really get familiar with all those different sounds. And if you want to know about 7th chords, adding a note on top of that, getting some more fancy chords, check out the video over here. We're going to do a little dive into that, and after that we're going to check out inversions of chords, one of my favorite things. So click on that, and I'll see you in the next video.